3 months. That's all it took for my marriage to start falling apart. 3 months since my wife, Lena, stopped kissing me goodnight. Since she began saying she was too tired, too busy, or just not in the mood. I used to think love was about patience, about giving space, trusting silence. But silence can destroy you slowly, like rust eating through steel. My name is Jason Hale, 31 years old, assistant manager at a local hardware store in Austin, Texas. I spend my days surrounded by shelves of screws, paint cans, and power tools, things that fit together, unlike my marriage, which was falling apart piece by piece. Lena and I had been married for 4 years. She runs a beauty studio, makeup, skincare, nails, always glowing, always confident. People called her the kind of woman who could sell sunlight to the moon. But lately she'd come home later and later, smelling of unfamiliar cologne, claiming she stayed back for extra clients. I didn't question her, not at first. Maybe because I didn't want to hear an answer that could break me. Until one evening, while cleaning under our bed, I found something that didn't belong to us, a bottle of lubricant. I froze. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. We never used anything like that, ever. That's when everything inside me went quiet. No shouting, no confrontation, just silence. Because sometimes the loudest pain is the one you bury deep enough to look calm. That night I lay awake beside her, watching the woman who'd promised forever turn away from me in her sleep. The next morning she smiled like nothing was wrong. She kissed my cheek, told me she'd be home late again. And as she walked out the door, I just said, "Sure, take your time." But behind that calm voice, something inside me had shifted. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. All I knew was I needed to know the truth. And whatever that truth was, it was going to change everything. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. Lena talked, laughed, posted her selfies like everything was perfect. But behind that perfect smile, I could sense something slipping, something she didn't want me to see. Every morning I'd watch her get ready, her perfume, her lipstick, her phone never leaving her hand. I used to love how she hummed while curling her hair. Now that same sound made my stomach twist. She had changed her phone password 2 weeks ago. When I asked, she laughed it off. "Oh, Jason, you worry too much. It's just privacy. Every girl deserves a little of that." Privacy. That word started echoing in my head like a siren. I stopped trying to ask questions. Instead, I started observing. Her tone, her timing, the way she smiled when certain names popped up on her phone. And then one night, when she went to shower, she left her phone on the bed, unlocked. It was only 12 seconds before it locked again. But 12 seconds was all I needed. A message popped up. "Same time tomorrow. Can't stop thinking about you." No name, just a number. My fingers trembled. I felt my throat tighten. My chest burn, like my entire world was collapsing, but I had to keep my body still. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming, her phone now in her hand again. "Jason, you okay? You look pale," she said. I smiled, the same empty smile I'd learned to use at work when customers complained. "Just tired," I replied. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed every late-night extra client, every busy day, every sudden business trip that never existed before. But there was one thing that hit me the hardest, the number. It was local. I copied it down before she deleted the chat. The next morning, while she was at work, I checked. It was saved under a contact name that made my stomach churn. Ethan. My brother. I stared at the screen, disbelief freezing my hands. No, it couldn't be. Ethan was the one person I trusted blindly. My own blood. Memories flashed. Birthdays, holidays. The way Lena used to joke with him. How they laughed together a little too easily. I thought it was harmless. Now every memory looked different, darker. I called his number from my phone once. It rang, and then from the other room, her phone buzzed. I stood there, unable to move. For a long time, I just stared at that phone glowing on her dressing table, lighting up the darkness between us. That's when I knew. Whatever I'd suspected was real. But instead of exploding, I just whispered to myself, "All right, Lena, you chose this game. Let's play it your way." And from that night forward, I stopped being her husband and started becoming her secret shadow. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. Lena was still asleep beside me, her breathing soft, steady, like nothing in her world had shifted. But mine had, completely. For the first time in our marriage, I wasn't looking at her with love. I was studying her, like a stranger. Every detail, how she reached for her phone the moment her eyes opened, How she smiled when she read the screen. How she hid it when she caught me watching. I didn't ask. Didn't react. Didn't let her see the storm she'd planted in me. Because now I had a plan. I went to work as usual that day. But my mind wasn't at Home Depot. It was with her. Every hammer that hit the counter, every box I stacked, every sound of tape peeling off the roll reminded me of her lies. At lunch I sat in my truck, scrolling through my phone, tracing back every photo she'd posted. And that's when I saw it. A small reflection in the mirror of her nail studio's selfie. A man's wristwatch. Not mine, but I knew that watch. It was Ethan's. My brother's watch, silver band, tiny scratch on the clasp. He'd worn it since college. I zoomed in again and again until there was no doubt left. That was all the proof I needed. Still, I didn't confront her. I didn't text him either, because I realized something that chilled me. If they could lie this deeply, they could also twist the story, make me look insane. So I chose silence. Silence was power, and patience was the weapon. For the next 2 weeks, I became a ghost in my own home. I spoke less, smiled more, and observed everything. She'd leave her salon at 6 p.m. But her location history, which synced to our shared Google account, showed no activity until almost 8. Then she'd walk in, acting exhausted, kissing my cheek like she hadn't just spent 2 hours with my brother. One night I followed her. I didn't even mean to. I just couldn't stop myself. She took the long route out of town, turning off the main road into a quiet residential street. And there it was, a silver car parked outside an unfamiliar house. Ethan's car. I parked a few houses away, watching through the reflection of my side mirror. The porch light flicked on, and for a second, I saw her silhouette, Lena stepping inside. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard it hurt. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head, every one of them ending in the same question: why him? Of all people, why my brother? I stayed parked for nearly an hour, until her car pulled out again. She didn't see me. She never noticed that I followed her all the way back home, watching her sing along to the radio like she hadn't just shattered everything we built. When she got out, she smiled, waved at me through the window, thinking I'd just arrived. "You're home early," she said, her voice cheerful, unbothered. I smiled back. "Yeah, just missed you." Those words tasted like poison in my mouth. That night, while she slept, I walked into the bathroom, the one she used every morning, every night. Her lotions, her creams, her skincare, all neatly lined up like soldiers waiting for orders. I picked up her favorite bottle, the one she never went a night without using. I unscrewed the cap and stared at the label. Then I placed it back down. Not yet. Revenge is only beautiful when it's patient. And I wasn't ready for beauty yet. I wanted precision. So I made a promise to myself that night. I'd collect every lie, every excuse, every kiss she gave that wasn't meant for me. And when the time came, I wouldn't raise my voice. I wouldn't break things. I'd simply let her truth destroy her. The next morning, she woke up cheerful again. She hummed while getting ready, her phone lighting up every few seconds. She didn't know I'd already memorized that number. She didn't know I'd already seen her car parked outside Ethan's house. She didn't know I was done being the fool in her story. She leaned over to kiss me goodbye, her perfume thick and sweet. "I'll be home late," she said. "Busy day." I smiled. "That's okay. I'll be waiting." And as she left, I whispered to the empty room. Not for long. The air inside our house had changed. It wasn't home anymore. It was a waiting room for betrayal. Every wall seemed to whisper what I already knew, and every glance Lena gave me felt rehearsed. But she still smiled, still lied, still thought I was blind. I wasn't. I was watching her closer than ever, through reflections, shadows, the silence between her words. For days I studied her routine. When she left, when she called, when she touched her face in the mirror before bed. Every small act was a pattern, and I was learning her like a blueprint. Because soon the walls that kept her secrets were going to talk. One evening, I came home early from work. Her car wasn't there. Good. I walked into the bedroom and opened her vanity drawer. Everything was the same. Foundation, lip gloss, the perfume that used to make my heart race. Now it just smelled like lies. Then I saw it. The small lotion bottle she kept hidden behind her perfume. The one she only used before she went out for clients. I picked it up, turned it over in my hand, and smiled. Not the happy kind. The kind that comes when pain finds purpose. I didn't touch the contents, not yet. Instead, I did something far simpler and much crueler. I set up a hidden camera small, silent, tucked behind her mirror frame. It wasn't to humiliate her. It was to see, to catch the truth from the reflection itself. That night she came home late again. Her hair was messy, her voice light, too light. She hummed a tune as she went to the mirror, took the same bottle in her hand and smiled to herself. Watching through my phone, I saw her type a message. He didn't suspect anything. I paused the video. Read it twice. My chest burned. I didn't know which hurt more, the lie or the pride in her eyes as she sent it. The next day I invited Ethan over. Just dinner, I said. It's been a while. He hesitated but agreed. He showed up at 8 p.m. sharp, the same easy grin, the same fake warmth. Good to see you, bro, he said, clapping my shoulder. I stared at him, holding that smile back like a blade I wasn't ready to use. We talked, ate. Lena played her role perfectly, laughing, serving food, pretending we were a normal family. But every time she looked at him, something flickered in her eyes. A spark of familiarity she couldn't hide, no matter how hard she tried. When dinner ended, I cleared the table, pretending to grab dessert. But instead, I returned with my phone and pressed play. The screen lit up with the recording. Her face, her voice, that same message she thought no one saw. Silence, the kind that crushes sound itself. Her fork clattered against the plate. Ethan's smile vanished. And me, I just stood there calm, watching the reflection of guilt pour across their faces. Caught you, I whispered. No shouting, no breaking things, just the truth, sharp, cold, and impossible to escape. Lena's lips trembled. Jason, it's not what you think. Then explain, I said softly. Explain how my wife became my brother's secret. Ethan stood, eyes wide. Jason, listen, it was... Don't, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Even he stepped back. Then I pointed to the mirror behind her, the one that had seen everything. You wanted to hide behind reflections, Lena? Good. That mirror is where your truth lives now. Everything was the same. Foundation, lip gloss, the perfume that used to make my heart race. Now it just smelled like lies. Then I saw it. The small lotion bottle she kept hidden behind her perfume. The one she only used before she went out for clients. I picked it up, turned it over in my hand, and smiled. Not the happy kind. The kind that comes when pain finds purpose. I didn't touch the contents, not yet. Instead, I did something far simpler and much crueler. I set up a hidden camera, small, silent, tucked behind her mirror frame. It wasn't to humiliate her. It was to see, to catch the truth from the reflection itself. That night, she came home late again. Her hair was messy, her voice light, too light. She hummed a tune as she went to the mirror, took the same bottle in her hand and smiled to herself. Watching through my phone, I saw her type a message. He didn't suspect anything. I paused the video. Read it twice. My chest burned. I didn't know which hurt more, the lie or the pride in her eyes as she sent it. The next day, I invited Ethan over. Just dinner, I said. It's been a while. He hesitated but agreed. He showed up at 8 p.m. sharp, the same easy grin, the same fake warmth. Good to see you, bro, he said, clapping my shoulder. I stared at him, holding that smile back like a blade I wasn't ready to use. We talked, ate. Lena played her role perfectly, laughing, serving food, pretending we were a normal family. But every time she looked at him, something flickered in her eyes. A spark of familiarity she couldn't hide, no matter how hard she tried. When dinner ended, I cleared the table, pretending to grab dessert. But instead, I returned with my phone and pressed play. The screen lit up with the recording. Her face, her voice, that same message she thought no one saw. Silence, the kind that crushes sound itself. Her fork clattered against the plate. Ethan's smile vanished. And me, I just stood there calm, watching the reflection of guilt pour across their faces. Caught you, I whispered. No shouting, no breaking things, just the truth, sharp, cold, and impossible to escape. Lena's lips trembled. Jason, it's not what you think. Then explain, I said softly. Explain how my wife became my brother's secret. Ethan stood, eyes wide. Jason, listen, it was... Don't, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Even he stepped back. Then I pointed to the mirror behind her, the one that had seen everything. You wanted to hide behind reflections, Lena? Good. That mirror is where your truth lives now. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Ethan grabbed his keys, muttered something, and walked out, fast. She stood frozen, pale, her hand trembling over that same bottle. I picked it up, set it down gently in front of her and said, "That's yours, keep it. Every lie that touched it belongs to you." And then I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. But as I walked away, the sound of her crying followed me through the hallway. Soft, desperate, and empty. For the first time in months, I felt nothing. No pain, no anger. Just silence again, but this time it was mine. That night I sat in my car outside the house, watching the lights go out one by one. Part of me wanted to go back. Another part whispered, "Don't," because sometimes peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from letting people drown in the truth they built. And deep down, I knew this wasn't over yet. Not even close. The night after I walked out, the world felt unnaturally still. No phone calls, no footsteps, no sound at all, except the hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the wall clock. I sat in my car until dawn, watching the sun crawl over the horizon like it didn't know what had happened inside that house. I'd waited so long to expose them. I thought it would feel like justice. It didn't. It felt empty. When I finally went inside to grab a few things, the house was silent. Lena wasn't there. The bed was half made, her clothes scattered, her perfume still hanging in the air like a ghost. I walked through the living room, past the mirror that had betrayed her secrets. The faint red light of the camera still blinked, the tiny witness that had turned my world upside down. I unplugged it, set it on the table, and stared at it for a long time. The truth had done its job. Now there was nothing left to see. By noon, word had spread. My mother called first, her voice trembling. "Jason, what happened?" Ethan came by. He looked pale, said something about a misunderstanding. I didn't have the strength to explain. "Ask him, Mom," I said quietly. "He'll tell you his version." She hesitated, then whispered, "You two are brothers. Don't let this destroy the family." That made me laugh, a low, tired sound. "The family was destroyed long before I found out," I said, and hung up. The next few days blurred together. I went to work, but my head wasn't there. People talked, joked, asked about Lena, and I just nodded like I was fine. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected it to be her. It wasn't, not until the fourth day. A message appeared on my screen. "Lena, can we talk? Please. I need you to hear me." I stared at it for a full minute before replying. "Jason, there's nothing left to hear." She responded instantly. "Lena, you don't understand. It wasn't just about him." That line made my heart drop for reasons I couldn't explain. What could possibly make betrayal worse than it already was? She sent another text. "Lena, meet me at the studio tonight. One last time." The sky was gray when I pulled up outside her nail studio. The open sign flickered weakly in the window. Inside, the air smelled of acetone and faded roses. She was sitting at the counter, her eyes red, makeup gone, hands trembling. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize her. "You look tired," I said quietly. "I haven't slept," she replied. "Not since that night." Silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen." "Ethan, he helped me start the business. We got close. Too close. But it wasn't love, Jason. I don't even know what it was anymore." I stood still, saying nothing. "I wanted to tell you," she continued. "But every time I looked at you, I saw what I'd lose, and I couldn't do it." "You did it anyway," I said. My voice was calm, but something in it made her flinch. She nodded. "I know. I deserve the hate. But please don't make this uglier than it already is." That line hit me harder than anything else she'd said, because I wasn't sure who she was talking to, me or herself. I walked around the counter, past the shelves of polish and tools, to the same mirror where she often took her photos. In its reflection, I could see both of us, standing side by side, like strangers pretending to be a couple. "You see that?" I said, nodding toward our reflection. "That's what's left of us. Two people who look like they belong together, but don't recognize what they're seeing." She turned away, tears in her eyes. "I'll leave the house," she said softly. "You can keep everything. I need you to know I never meant to hurt you like this." I didn't answer, because somewhere deep inside, I wasn't sure whether I believed her or not. That night, I went home alone again. The lights were dim, the air heavy. I walked past the vanity, the empty drawer, the mirror now reflecting only me. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt tired. Tired of pretending, tired of wondering, tired of silence. I picked up the lotion bottle still sitting there, untouched since the night of the dinner, and placed it in a box with her things. It wasn't a weapon anymore. It was just evidence of how far love can fall before it breaks. I sealed the box and set it by the door. As I turned off the lights, the house went quiet again. But this time it wasn't the silence of pain. It was the silence of something ending. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Soft, patient, waiting. And I knew deep down this wasn't the storm's end. It was only the calm before whatever came next. Morning didn't arrive like it used to. It didn't bring light or warmth. It just crawled across the ceiling like a memory. I didn't want to remember. I sat in the kitchen, staring at the untouched cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The silence of the house wasn't peace anymore. It was punishment. Every corner still carried her perfume lingering on the curtains, her hairbrush on the counter, her voice echoing faintly in my head, and no matter how hard I tried to shake it off, I kept hearing the words she whispered to him that night. I missed you. That sentence had become a ghost, haunting me louder than any scream. Around noon, my phone buzzed for the 5th time. It was my mother again. I let it ring out, but she called right back. "Jason, honey, please," she said, her voice trembling. "Your father hasn't slept. Ethan's not talking. We need to see you." "See me for what?" I said coldly. "To ask me to pretend it never happened?" "He's your brother." "Not anymore." There was a pause. The kind of silence that only mothers can make. Heavy, pleading, guilt-laden. "He said it was one time, Jason. He regrets it." He's not the same since you found out." "Good," I said, my tone flat. "Maybe now he knows what regret feels like." She started crying softly, and I ended the call before the sound broke me more than I already was. That evening, I went back to work. I thought maybe stacking shelves, cutting wood, hearing the hum of saws, it might drown out the noise in my head. But it didn't. Because when I walked down aisle 12, the one where we kept the adhesives, I froze. Aisle 12. The irony hit me like a punch to the gut. That was the aisle where I'd picked the glue. The same kind that had turned one night of betrayal into a lifetime of shame. And even though I'd never meant for things to spiral this far, even though I only wanted them caught, not destroyed, it was too late to rewrite what the world already believed. The next day he came. Ethan. He didn't look like my brother anymore. Dark circles under his eyes. Beard unshaven. Shoulders sagged like he'd been carrying guilt that was heavier than he expected. I was on my break sitting behind the store when I heard footsteps. Then his voice. "Jason, please." I didn't turn. "You've got a lot of nerve coming here." "I just want to talk." "Talk?" I laughed bitterly. "We stopped doing that the day you crossed the line." He stepped closer, his voice low. "She told me you'd changed, that you were always gone, angry, cold." I thought she needed someone to listen. "So you listened in bed?" He didn't answer. His jaw clenched. His eyes were red. "You don't understand, Jace. I tried to stop it." She came to me crying, saying you didn't love her anymore. "And you believed her?" I snapped, finally turning to face him. "You believed a woman who hid lies under her smile, just so she could feel alive again. You believed her over your own blood?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I made a mistake." "No," I said, my voice breaking. "You made a choice." For a long second, neither of us moved. Then I saw it, the regret in his eyes. Real, heavy. And for a flicker of a moment I felt pity. But pity is poison when it comes too late. "You ruined everything," I said quietly. "So did you," he whispered. "You think what you did makes you better?" That hit harder than I expected. I clenched my fists. "I didn't do it to hurt you." "But you did," he said. "You hurt everyone." His words landed like a slow punch, and for the first time since the chaos, I realized he was right. I'd let my rage become a weapon that cut deeper than I intended. He turned to leave, stopping only once. "You were always the good one, Jace. I guess we both lost that now." He walked away, and I just stood there, watching the man who used to be my brother disappear down the alley. The days blurred after that. The town whispered louder. Every time I stepped into a grocery store, I felt eyes on me, not with pity, not with sympathy, but with judgment. In a small town, your private pain becomes public property. Someone even spray-painted "broken family" on the side of my truck one morning. I didn't clean it off, maybe because it was true. One night, I drove out to the old lake we used to visit as kids. Me, Ethan, Mom, Dad. The moonlight rippled over the water, quiet and still, like it didn't care about the chaos of human hearts. I sat there for hours, listening to the wind in the trees, and for the first time I admitted something I'd been avoiding. I wasn't just angry. I was lonely. Lonely because the people I loved the most were now just shadows in my story. Lonely because revenge doesn't fill the hole it creates. I pulled out my phone and read her last message again. I hope someday you heal enough to forgive me. Forgive? No. Forget? Maybe someday. When I got home, my father was waiting on the porch. He was holding a beer, staring at the dark sky. You finally found some air, huh? He said quietly. Something like that. He took a sip, then handed me the bottle. You did what you thought was right. But you can't live in it forever. I know, I said. It's just hard to breathe when every memory smells like her. He nodded slowly. Then changed the air. I didn't understand what he meant until later that night. I started pulling down every photo, every frame, every reminder. The walls looked bare, almost foreign. But they were finally mine again. I repainted the bedroom. New color, dark gray, steady, calm. Each stroke of the roller felt like reclaiming something I'd lost. By morning, I was covered in paint and exhaustion, but the air felt lighter. For the first time in months, I wasn't choking. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. A real letter, folded neatly. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. Ethan's. Inside one line. You were always the better man. I'm leaving town. I hope someday we can be brothers again. I read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and placed it in the drawer beside my bed. I didn't forgive him. Not yet. But the hatred had started to fade, replaced by something quieter. Maybe acceptance, maybe exhaustion. Because that's what healing really is. It's not forgetting the pain. It's learning how to live with it without letting it burn you alive. That night, it rained again. The kind of rain that hums against the window, soft but endless. I stood there watching it fall, and for a moment, I thought about everything that had happened. Every word, every scream, every silent drive home alone. And somehow, for the first time, I didn't feel broken. Just human, just tired. But deep inside, a whisper still lingered. A truth I hadn't faced. A part of the story still unfinished. Because sometimes, the hardest person to forgive isn't the one who betrayed you. It's the one who let revenge define him. And I wasn't ready to face that reflection yet. The rain had stopped by morning, but the air still carried the smell of storm. Jason stood at the window, eyes fixed on the driveway where puddles shimmered like broken glass. A week had passed since Ethan's letter. A week of silence, of trying to breathe in a house that no longer felt like his. And yet, something in him had begun to shift. Not peace, not yet, but an ache that had started to dull. He made coffee black and bitter. The mug trembled in his hands when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Meet me at the old salon tonight. One last time. No name, but he didn't need one. Lena. He stared at the message for a full minute. He could have deleted it, blocked her, pretended she no longer existed. But part of him still needed to see her. Not for closure, he didn't believe in that word anymore, but for answers that kept circling like vultures in his head. By nightfall, the city was quiet again. The small shopping strip looked abandoned. The sign of Daisy's nails still hanging crooked after the storm. He pushed open the glass door. The faint scent of acetone and lavender air freshener hit him, just like before. Every sound echoed, the click of his shoes, the buzz of a dying light. Then he heard it. Jason. Her voice, soft, tired, almost unrecognizable. She stepped out from the back room. Hair shorter, eyes hollow. Time had taken its toll on her, too. You look different, he said. So do you. She tried to smile, but it cracked halfway. I didn't know where else to go. You shouldn't have come at all. I needed to tell you something before I disappear for good. He folded his arms. Disappear? What does that even mean? She hesitated. Ethan's gone. He left town. I know, he sent me a letter. She nodded slowly, biting her lip. Then you don't know everything. There was something in her tone, nervous, shaky, but heavy with truth. That night, she began, when you followed us. When everything happened, Ethan didn't know you were there. I didn't either. But someone else did. Jason frowned. What are you talking about? She swallowed hard. The video. The one that went around, the one people whispered about. It wasn't random. Someone sent it out on purpose. He stepped closer. Who? Her eyes met his, glistening. Your father. The room fell silent. For a second, Jason thought he'd misheard. My what? He knew about us before you did, she whispered. Ethan told him weeks earlier. He begged him to keep it quiet. But your dad wanted to teach him a lesson. He set you up to find out. He told me to come by the house that night. Said you'd be working late. He wanted to break him, to make him pay for betraying family. Jason's pulse pounded in his ears. His father, the man who had stood on the porch telling him to let go. "You're lying." "I wish I was." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. Inside, an old USB drive. He recorded the call. "You can listen, but don't hate me more for it." "I was a fool, Jason, not a monster." He stared at the drive in his palm, its metallic sheen catching the flickering light above. The room felt smaller now. He couldn't breathe. Hours later, back home, Jason sat alone in the dark. The only light came from the glow of his laptop. He plugged the drive in. A faint crackle, then a voice. His father's voice. If he's man enough to betray blood, he's man enough to suffer the fallout. Let him drown in the mess he made. Jason deserves to know the truth one way or another. Another voice followed. Ethan's. "Please, Dad, don't drag him into this." Too late. He'll see it. He'll learn. Family only learns when it bleeds. The audio clicked off. Jason sat frozen, staring at the screen. Every piece of his life, every word, every scream, every sleepless night had been orchestrated not by chance, not even by betrayal, but by his own father's hand. The next day, Jason drove to his parents' house. The road felt longer than usual, the oak trees leaning in like silent witnesses. His father was on the porch again, same spot, same quiet stare. "You knew," Jason said as he stepped out of the car. "Knew what?" "Don't do that," his voice cracked. "Don't pretend." The old man sighed, setting his coffee down. "I did what I had to. You boys were tearing this family apart long before she came around. I just accelerated what was already broken. You used me. I told you to let it go, didn't I?" Jason's jaw tightened. "You wanted to watch it burn." Sometimes fire's the only way to clean what's rotten. For a long time they just stared at each other, two men shaped by the same silence. Then Jason said quietly, "You destroyed everything." "No," his father whispered. "You both did. I just stopped pretending otherwise." Jason turned and walked away, heart pounding, chest hollow. But before he got in the car, his father called out one last time. "You think I did this for him or her?" "I did it for you. You were becoming just like me." Jason froze. "What are you talking about?" The old man's eyes narrowed, haunted but calm. "The glue, son. You didn't buy the wrong kind. You bought exactly what I taught you to buy. You did what I would have done." Jason's stomach dropped. He remembered that day at the store, the quiet instinct, the steady hands, the lack of hesitation. He thought it was rage guiding him. Maybe it was blood. For the first time, he realized he hadn't just inherited his father's eyes or his temper. He'd inherited his darkness. That night, Jason returned home and went straight to the bathroom. The mirror stared back, fogged from the shower. He wiped it clean slowly, his reflection emerging, tired, older, unfamiliar. Behind his own eyes, he saw traces of his father. The same stillness, the same calculation. And for the first time, he wasn't sure who he was anymore. He whispered to himself, "You wanted the truth, Jason. Now live with it." The rain started again outside, tapping against the glass like fingers. He watched his reflection blur in the condensation, fade and reappear, half shadow, half man. Somewhere in the house, the phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He didn't answer. He just stared at the mirror, the faintest smirk flickering before vanishing into silence. The camera would hold on his reflection, longer than comfortable, until only his eyes remained visible through the fog. Then black,